Welcome to a short reflection by Sebastian Mahfoud in Canto 1 of Dante's Inferno. At age 35, Dante finds himself lost in a dark wood. It is a Friday morning, April 8 of the year 1300, a couple of days before Easter. He'll spend the day wandering through this dark wood, trying to find a path up to the Mount of Joy, a smaller hill than the one that will eventually enable him to ascend to God. What blocks Dante's ascent up this little Mount of Joy are three beasts: a leopard, a lion, and a she-wolf. Each beast represents a different set of vices: the leopard, fraud; the lion, violence; and the she-wolf, incontinence. But each also represents a different stage of hell. The she-wolf of incontinence, for instance, represents the 2nd through 5th circles, the concupiscible and irascible appetites, out of conformity with the rational appetite. The lion represents the 7th circle, the violent, and the leopard represents the 8th and 9th circles, the malicious, the fraudulent, and the traitorous. The 1st and 6th circles deal with something different from these animals. The former deals with non-belief, and the latter with disbelief. In order to avoid all of these obstacles, Dante has to first recognize them for what they are. Just when he's about to give up hope, Dante sees a presence gather in the air in front of him. He cries out, "Have pity on me, whatever thing you are, whether shade or living man." To which the thing responds to the effect that he's Virgil, the Golden Age poet who wrote the Aeneid, and whom Dante calls his true master and first author. He then begs Virgil's protection against the she-wolf, his greatest foe, and is told that if Dante is to escape the dark wood of error, he has to go the long way round. He has to go through a process of recognizing sin, then renouncing it. Only then will he be able to enter into paradise, a place to which Virgil can guide him, but cannot himself enter, since he died a pagan. Dante agrees to the journey, and the two set off. It is Friday evening. My student, John Stearns, observed that if Dante sets off on Friday evening and leaves hell on Saturday evening, then the entire trip through hell takes place in right at 24 hours. He compared this with Aristotle's Poetics, where Aristotle asserts that tragedy has to take place in under 24 hours for it to qualify as one. Dante's not a tragic character, though. Far from it. His character flaws dissipate as he gets further in his journey. He can recognize them for what they are, and understand that he has to deal with them in order to fully participate in God's plan for his salvation. He passes by tragic characters, though, people who persist for all eternity in the same damnable state in which they were living. Each chose his or her own spot in hell based on the life each lived. That one character trait that got them to where they are, that's the tragic flaw, and that's the essence of this tragedy, for they did not pursue God's plan for their own salvation. They pursued their own plan for their own damnation. Life is a maze like that when we try to prevent the Holy Spirit's participation in it. We find ourselves lost in a dark wood, and we need someone to help us out. The first person we can ask is our own conscience, which, according to the Catechism, is a judgment of reason whereby the human person recognizes the moral quality of a concrete act that he is going to perform. And that judgment of reason is allegorized in this comedy as Virgil. Through reason, we come to understand the nature of our relationship with God. But reason can only take us so far. What's needed beyond that is faith, by which we enter into the sacred mysteries. And faith is something Dante is going to have to cultivate.